Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Noreen and I create watercolor tutorials, paintings, and art supply reviews. Today I'm going to be painting the sunset scene with watercolors. I started off by wetting the whole page with water. I like to make sure it really soaks into the paper. This allows it to stay wet a little longer so you have more time to work with the paint. I began with a wet and wet wash for the background where I lay in the basic color areas. For the sky, I wanted a pale blue and purple scheme. I'm using phthalo blue green shade and dioxazine violet as well as a little Payne's gray. For the sunset area, I'm using New Gamboge, which is a warm orangey yellow, and Pyrrole Scarlet, a warm red. At the bottom, I went with a warmer blue with French ultramarine, along with Payne's gray and more dioxazine violet. I added this to the top part as well to help blend with the warm colors of the sunset. I also dropped in some Pyrrole Scarlet around the sun to make it more vibrant. Before letting this dry, I lifted some areas in the sky with a paper towel for the clouds. After lifting, I went in with a little more color to define the edges of the clouds and where I wanted them to be. If you watched my video on washes, you'll notice that I'm going to pick up some of the excess water that's pooling on the right side here and along the bottom, just to make sure I don't have any hard edges or blooms at the end. Once dry, I went over the lower area again with a light wash of ultramarine blue and violet. I also decided to intensify the color in the sunset and the clouds. Adding different mixes of colors on top of the background wash helps to add definition and dimension to the sky. You'll notice I'm holding the brush towards the end for this part. This really helps you loosen up and get more random shapes and lines. I went over the sky area again just to give it more dimension, more interest, and to make it look a little less flat and boring. I also wanted to make sure that the sky had more of that purple color because at this point it was mostly the phthalo blue and the Payne's gray, so adding the purple will really make it stand out. I want my first strokes for the wheat stalks to be fuzzy so they look like they're in the background. To achieve this, I needed the area to be wet again, so I went over it with another layer, this time with violet and red iron oxide. That might seem like a weird combo, but it gives the purple a really earthy tone and neutralizes it a bit so it isn't as punchy. Now I'm starting to lay in the wheat with a darker mix of the Payne's gray, violet, and red iron oxide. Since the paper is wet, this layer will spread and fade out. I let that dry before moving on. Then I started putting in the foreground with a more concentrated mix of the same colors. I just put them wherever it felt right and added lines for bare grass in between. To To make these shapes, I just use the end of the brush and push it down on the paper for the leaf shape, and then I use the very tip to create the very thin line for the stalk. These brushes are the Silver Black Velvet brushes. I'm using a size 10, a size 6, and a size 2, and all three of these brushes come in a pack of 3 that you can get on Amazon, and the link is in the description. I used a smaller brush to create the little fuzzy bits on the end of each stalk, and I wanted to make sure I got this in while the area was still wet so you don't get any hard edges. The paper I'm using is the Meeden Cotton Watercolor Block. It is 100% cotton paper and it's so affordable. All the materials I'm using here are listed in the description below, along with a link where you can find them on Amazon. After letting this layer dry, I decided that there weren't enough background wheat, so I went in with a diluted mix and added in some lighter colored wheat so they look like they're behind the foreground. I also wanted it to have a bit more dimension, so I added some leaves and stalks with a different mix of Payne's Gray and the violet. If all the foreground items were the exact same shade, it would look flat, so it's good to add strokes of different colors, even if the difference is slight. If you find that you accidentally laid down a little bit too much color or too much paint, you can tap your brush dry on a cloth or paper towel and go in and lift up some of that color with the dry brush. Now for my favorite part. I love peeling the tape. This is washi tape that I got on Amazon, which I'll link below. It's really beautiful but impractical for taping paper down. However, it works really well for creating a border like I did here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a comment, like the video, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.